I actually love the wintertime. It's very tranquil to me to more or less forget some of the work. I almost have an excuse that it's 10 out and the wind's blowing with a foot of frozen snow outside where I almost can't work. In the winters, a lot of times people get time off in the winter to play in the snow and actually enjoy life. Trying to make a living here is a little tougher. I've always worked for myself, and I fit in here perfect because working for yourself, you're able to actually make a livable wage as opposed to working for somebody else, working by the hour without having a college education. With Vermont, it's a little slower paced because we don't have service per se. It's so sketchy. There's a rock over here you need to stand on. There's a corner in the parking lot of the grocery store you can make a phone call at. At the same time, it's actually the draw that people seem to like. The old-fashioned, we're years behind the rest of the country, but that is almost some of the appeal of living in Vermont, is the backwardness. Have the mom and pop stores and the little local general stores. That is a older fashioned feeling, going back like the old days. I had just gotten out of high school and I was more or less into backpacking. I had had a job at a factory for a while. A friend of mine I grew up with was working for a company called Asplin Tree Service. He was the foreman. He was looking for a guy to fill in for a day. He hired me for the day and actually taught me how to run a chainsaw. I had never ran one. My father never had a chainsaw. It was the craziest thing to grab something that made so much noise, was so sharp, and just being intimidated by the machine to begin with that very first day. It was a different experience for sure. Nothing I look real forward to as far as running the chainsaw per se. It's more about what I'm accomplishing with this tool. That's actually the rewarding part of it. I'm 60 years old and I'm still running chainsaws. It's my tool of choice, I guess. So the winter tends to really let us chill out, recharge every battery we have in us so we get a good at least 2 months off, minimal labor. I am so excited to get back carving that I wish I could. I'm really waiting for the snow to leave, but at the same time, I'm chomping at the bit to actually get back out there and start doing some work.
We did move out here in February of 1956 in this house, and I had Charlie in June. I got pregnant on my honeymoon. So we bought this house. My brother lived down the street from us, and he showed us this new project that was up here, and we liked it, so we put a down payment on it, and this is where Charlie was born. Charlie was so lovable. He slept all night and ate good, and wherever I took him, people thought he was a little girl. He was so pretty. I loved him when he was small, and he loved to play with the hose. He'd get it on, and everybody got a little bit of this and a little bit of that, especially Jeffrey. They fought tooth and nail. After a while, they got along. They became good friends. He liked making things. He always did. We bought him an erector set, and his father helped him make a big tower, and we bought Lincoln logs, and believe it or not, how he loved Lincoln logs. He was really getting into things that he loved to make things. Charlie was not college material, and he knew it. He didn't want to go to college, but he had brains. You know what I mean? He was able to learn a lot of things. That kid knew how to survive if anything would happen.
You didn't hardly eat any of this one, though.
This stuff definitely.
Sure, you just don't want another
It's
one?
great when you're eating your own maple syrup.
This is our maple syrup we made. We tap the trees. We tap the trees in our yard and we boil it down on our wood stove. And this year we made about 2 gallons, which takes about 80 gallons of sap. These blueberries were grown up the hill from us at our friend Marilyn's house. They picked so many that they gave us this bag and another bag. So they're frozen. There's a trick to freezing blueberries. When you freeze them, you can't just put them in the bag. You gotta freeze them flat on a cookie sheet first and then put them in the bag because otherwise they get all mushy. And they're hard to use in cooking, but they work great for the pancakes. You just have to plop them on one by one after you dump the pan. You can't mix it in with the batter. You have to just put them on after you drop the batter. I don't know if this is how they do it in restaurants. Probably not, but this is how we do it. Ah.
Is your fresh maple syrup good?
I was just gonna start my generator. I have a little pump here. Where you plan on getting water from? The brook or the river? Well, we're coming over to do it now. It's now or never. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get my generator working. If we can do that, I can get it down the brook with a little pump I got here or an extension cord. And I have some barrels, and I also have my little garden cart there I got from the Big E. We'll bring a bunch of gear over and try and get you some water for the next couple days. I guess we're ready to go, Dan. Turning out to be an awesome day. We bought the property here in Vermont. We were building a small camp. I came up with a load of wood in the old flatbed truck, stopped for dinner at the local gin mill up the street. I had met this guy, Roger. We sort of hit it off, and it was winter time, and I kind of had nowhere to sleep other than my truck. I couldn't find a motel room anywhere local. He lived across the street and offered me a place to stay. As I got to know Roger, he was very good friends with Pat. He would come and visit and bring Pat over, and that was more or less how we met her. Jennifer hit off very well with Pat. They were both lefties, and they just seemed to have a lot in common. And she was like the second person we met in Vermont. Pat is such a sweetheart. She has seen adversity as far as her health and hip replacements, shoulder replacements, and that girl just keeps plugging along.
Sam, my pony, and this is Ajax. He's my 4-year-old. A lot of these racehorses get damaged because they bred them at 2 years old. Their knees aren't closed up. They ended up at the slaughterhouse or someplace else. I bought him. It was a whoops, and his mother was a full horse, and his father was a Shetland pony. He's 14 hands even, so he is still a pony, but he's a large pony.
Your horse creeps me out sometimes when it gets right up on you and stares at you and stuff.
You know, he does like to be a little close. I like the peace and quiet. I like being on a dead-end road. People are a lot more friendly and helpful. They're not as cliquey. More down to earth. You're comfortable, you wear what you want to wear, you take you as you are. Wherever you go, there's somebody that you know that's gonna know somebody that you know. I have not found anybody in Vermont that I have been friends with that doesn't know somebody that I know already. So we do a lot of bartering around here. I mean, we don't always pay in cash. Like I got scraps of wood from my siding of my new house that are no good for me, but they're excellent for signs for the sign bearers. That's Vermont all the way around. I don't find very many people who strut their nose to helping anybody. I've had horses since I was 8 years old, and I've never been without one. It's kept me going. I'm still riding at my age, which most people is like, you're still riding horses. It's always an experience to get out into the woods and see stuff that you wouldn't see If you're just walking around, you get to see a lot more. I don't care if I ride so much, I just like being around them. I mean, I'm just as happy to clean a stall as I am to get on the back of a horse.
That's awesome. Here you go.
Because I do have an interest in love of horses and being outside, kept me healthier longer, helps healing process, gives you a good spirit, refreshing type maybe thing. Makes me happy. It's home.
This is a very dangerous job. You have to pay attention. Dropping these trees, there's always widowmakers, as they call them, hanging above your head. As long as you play heads up and a little bit of luck, you're gonna make it through the day. I'm way too old to be logging in the woods, but I like staying busy. With this logging job, the shape I was in and the shape I am in now after working a couple of months, I lost a bunch of weight and I got a good wind going, and I just feel really good about working hard again. We start around 8, go out, we usually cut anywhere from 20 to 25 trees, which create close to a load and a half for a log truck to get out of here, or 1,000 board feet. We just cut and we try and do a nice job. As we're dropping the trees, we make a little bit of a mess, so we go back and cut the things that got broken and what have you and get it so it lays down, looks good.
Started logging in the late 70s. I got out of high school, I went to work for Aspen Tree Expert Company, and I did a lot of climbing and bucket work, and then I took on my own crew with Aspen. From there, I just wanted to be on my own, so I got my own equipment, and I had my own crew, and at one point we had 3 skidders and 2 log trucks. I had a sawmill running for 9 years down in Connecticut. I just really enjoyed all the versatility of logging, the different aspects between cutting the trees and milling the trees. I don't want to get much closer to the road.
No.
I don't know if you want to take this one or not.
In the wintertime, when I was slow with the tree service, Ken would hire me on and we'd work in the woods together. So it was like a filler for wintertime.
I kind of grew up with Charlie. We didn't really run in the same circle for a long time, but in high school we did for a while.
I was more in the tree service, and Ken was a tree climber also, but he got into firewood and logging, and I went the other direction, more towards tree climbing.
And at that point, I moved to Montana. I came back a few times, and Charlie got interested in coming out west.
Over the years, we've had a couple adventures. He used to like to grab me off of one of my jobs and say, "Okay, Charlie, we're heading to Montana." 3, 4 years, we probably went back and forth like 8, 9 times. We flew sometimes, we drove. And there was some adventure there.
He's been a big help to me this winter, I know that, to help me pull through on this job, because I normally am out here by myself. And at my age, I'm 61 years old, it's getting tough. I enjoy being out in the woods, I enjoy working for myself, and it's kind of what I know.
Ken's been kind of easy on me, telling me to take a break when I need a break, when I have my old man moments.
All right.
I sort of felt when I was younger that I always wanted to be outside. We used to have a school at the end of our street, and there was a little brook that ran back through there called Turkey Brook. And we used to go and make forts out there right up into our teens, and we actually ended up drinking our first beers in some of these little forts we created. But we do a lot of hiking around there, and we'd play cowboys and Indians with sticks or something like that. The outdoors was something I always enjoyed. And I think it sort of brought me to that point throughout my life where I enjoyed it. I was snow plowing in the wintertime, and I was reading the newspaper in the morning, and I came across an ad that said land starting at $5,000 and up. Me and Jennifer came up and checked out 2 or 3 of these lots, and they were financing them too. I came and looked at this lot and decided on this. So we put $2,000 down and had like $166 a month payments. It worked out really well for us. At the time, we lived in Connecticut, had no plans on like moving anywhere else. We had a place to get away and slowly just build a little camp to have a place to hang out. When we first bought the property, I ended up with an Alaskan sawmill and lots of pine logs. So I was thinking of a way to use the material up, and we came up with sawmilling. And so this is how this camp was built, by us taking raw logs and actually milling framing lumber. So every couple of weeks I'd come up with another load of wood and tack it on. I helped a friend of mine, Ken, build a log home in Montana, where we used to go on the 4th of July, and we'd go out there periodically to do some work, logging, and I happened to help him build a log home out there. And I really loved the log homes a lot. So once again, I'm looking through a log home magazine, and they were going to have a log home show in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm like, we ought to go this. I think this will be really neat. Well, further in the magazine, Yellowstone Log Homes was looking for dealers. And a little light went off, and I called them up. I became a dealer of log homes for Yellowstone Log Home, and I'm going to this log home show in Worcester knowing very little about trying to sell a log home. And I actually did sell a log home there. After we sold several, I had one where I was working out of Connecticut, and there was a half a truck coming out of Idaho, didn't have any logs on it. This particular house we built, so what I did, I split the bill with the customer that we were building for, and had my log home logs only shipped out here. And a lot of it was paid for on the commission from the sale I made with him. It kind of happened so quick, I had nowhere to put the logs, so we used a friend of ours on the backside of the mountain over here to stash the logs till I was actually ready to build something. Log homes is a whole different type of construction. Well, we were building this and then adding on to this with no idea that this log home was gonna come within the next 6 months. Started concentrating on a foundation for that. As we were building, I mean, there was times where we went broke. We were building this out of our pocket. We needed lumber, and we needed this, and we needed that. It stalled a couple times. It took 3 years from start to pretty much finish. A lot of it was done by me, but I had a couple local kids who helped. They were here when the crane was here for 2 days, setting the logs, beams for the ceiling and all that. But there was times I'd come here and I'd work by myself. I'd lean a board up, go up a ladder, pull that board up, nail that in, take another measurement, come down off the ladder, doing whatever you had to do. As we were building this house, I was carving inside of it. At that point, the carving really got to me. I really fell in love with doing it. I just was making stuff out of wood. It was just really neat. And it was very hard. It was hard to do a really good job. And I knew what it took, like a lot of things I've learned is practice. We kept at it. We just never gave up. Off to get the wood, Dan. What I'm gonna do is attach a pulley to this tree, run a line out to those logs, hook it to the truck, and suck them out of the woods. You know what? The pulley ended up in the other truck. Damn it. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that, Dan. I left my pulley in that black truck. Yep. We have a day we call Dion's Monday, and it seems like we have this day where whatever I touch seems to just go wrong. Let's see, I don't know if this is gonna work. Problem with doing things by hand is you gotta do it by hand. Instead of a pulley, I'm gonna try and just get this rope to run inside of this, and it may still work. Working by myself a lot and solving these different problems, it's a challenge in one respect, but it wears on you a little bit. Sometimes you almost feel like you want to give up. A lot of times on a day like that, I'll get on my four-wheeler or something and take my daughter, we'll go out in the woods, we'll go for a little ride, get a little downtime, stand back and look at the situation from a different perspective. I'm gonna go to that and then to the truck. I'm gonna hook it up, and then I'm gonna come in and cut it into a little shorter piece. You gotta use these special bowline knots. Once I pull tight on them, I still should be able to get them undone. What the hell? Theoretically, I can make stuff work. I think I gained weight on that grinder today. This is one of those mistakes that I learned an important lesson. Don't forget your pulley. I think it's more or less a Vermont thing, being hands-on. We tend to have some friends who do come up, and I do tend to get some help, but I have worked with other people who've even mentioned to me, I can tell you work alone a lot because of the way I go about things. A little bit mechanical about it and not working like with that other person. Doesn't have the skill set that I have. So they're a little bit behind me in the train of thought and what we're going about doing. I'm gonna back this truck up and see if we can get that log out of there. What I like about hard work is some of the challenge of it, but it seems like it's in my DNA to get out there and sort of do the homestead hard work thing that I sort of enjoy. I love getting my hands into things and just working it, and it seems to work. Feels like an accomplishment, but in my mind, I'm doing what I was built to do, maybe, or something. I just enjoy picking up a project, and whether it's making a piece of furniture for the house or building the house, it's really hard to get that exact feeling of why I feel it's necessary to do it, but it's so rewarding to me for some reason that I just enjoy it. Go, you pieces of wood. When I had my tree service, I just always felt like with the spare wood, try and make something out of it. I don't know what really drew me to it. I had seen another chainsaw carver at one time, I just thought that'd be the coolest thing in the world to be able to do that. But I just never thought in a million years I could attempt to even try and do what this guy had done. It really amazed me. A little bit of a dream come true to actually be able to do this. So maybe in the back of my mind, as I was trying to just make table slabs and different things, I was trying to attempt it. The music sets the tone for my work. Time means almost nothing. I do seem to drift off somewhere else into another dimension or space. People like the bears as far as the carving goes. I have like a little bit of a bear attitude, I think, anyways, a little bit. I've been called bear a couple times by a few people. Size and height has a lot to do with the width of the bear. And we usually carve the bear so they're doing something like holding a sign, a lantern, a plant, and I start carving the head, and it gives me an idea about where I can get the arm. That sort of determines how the bear, if it's gonna sit kind of squat down or more standing up straight and tall. Even if it doesn't quite go, I sometimes force it into making it squatter or standing kind of funny, and sometimes I crack myself up because a leg will go one way or the other that I didn't anticipate. So sometimes it's a little bit of luck, and mistakes will be made. And that's where I've learned the most, actually, is by making mistakes or trying to correct them and make it look better. I'll probably get 20, maybe 40 minutes actually in the carving, put the eyeballs in and do some preliminary sanding for Jennifer. Basic design is the same, but our expressions have changed dramatically from when we started. We're getting real close to like a smiley bear, where before they were kind of expressionless bears.
I was always doodling and drawing. I wasn't too bad at it. And a few people said, oh, I always knew you'd be some kind of artist. When I'm out there working, I'm in my own little world, you know? I'm just me and my bear. My mind wanders, so sometimes you think of something new or you see somebody else's work. You never want to get the flame on your hose. You will blow up. You never want to have this in proximity to your flame. You will blow up. Same thing with this. You must be careful. There's a reason there's a little connector here, because Jen accidentally cleaned her tool and put it down, and it put a hole in it because it was hot. Fire extinguisher. Although I do have a real fire extinguisher in my shop, in case it gets out of hand. And when I get them, they're all raw wood. And so I have a torch, and I burn them up with a torch to get them browned. Some people paint them, some people stain them, we burn them. And then I sand off the snout and the ears. Even it out a little. I can kind of tweak it a little and round it off, because the chainsaw is not able to round things off. Everyone's different. Everyone's different in the face. Some have a longer nose, some a shorter nose. Sometimes the eyes are a little off or the ears are different. I know some bears I go, wow, this one's really good. I love this one. And then some bears I go, I hate this bear. I remember that bear until I sell it. Pat, she helps me so much. She's my best person I've ever had. She could almost do my job, almost. She helps me burn them and sand them, and smaller work that frees me up to do the sanding part. It gets old sometimes, but it's still one of the best jobs because self-employed. I don't have to answer to anyone but me and Charlie, but I like it and we make a good team.
The first time I ever met Jennifer, me and a friend, he had a landscaping company, had a company picnic.
There was this guy, Charlie, there, but he was with another girl, so I didn't really look at him.
She was very outgoing. She was very bubbly and had a lot of energy. A year or so went by, and I hadn't seen her.
I remember when I first saw him at the bar, he was sitting in a bar stool, leaning back with his leather vest on and just full of himself.
One of the first dates we had a Christmas tree burning party, which we have every year. And she thought it was like, yeah, we're going to hang out in somebody's house on the lake and burn some brush or something. And we had like 100 trees on the beach, everybody hanging around a big bonfire.
When I had my lunch truck at Bradley Airport, Charlie would drive up with his big dump truck and a couple of helper guys with his big 3-inch logging boots on. So they were rough and tough guys coming. He'd come and swing me around, and they're like, "That's your boyfriend?" Yeah. Climbs trees and plays with chainsaws. When I sold my lunch truck, I had to get a different vehicle because I was driving my lunch truck all the time. So I got a van, and we ended up just driving down and sleeping in our van for 2 weeks. We went to Speed Weeks.
And I had never been to Florida. I don't think at that point I ever really traveled all that far.
You know, carpet and mattress in the back, a couple sand chairs, a grill, a cooler. We were good.
That was a real nice experience. That was a lot of fun.
This is Charlie getting ready. Hey, Charles! Coming into the church.
Jennifer isn't a moody person, and I think that's what I was looking for, someone I could get along with, live my life without really having to worry about being bitched at.
We were at the Harley swap meet at Stafford Motor Speedway, and we were staying overnight. We had a tent and stuff.
We were drinking all day and this and that. We were having a really good time. I don't know what it was, but the mood struck me, and I got down on one knee and asked her if she'd marry me. You know, to think back on it, was kind of an odd thing to do at a biker rally. For some reason, it came out of me.
We got married at the Catholic Church, mostly for Charlie's mom. Even though I'm not Catholic, I went through all the classes. And our reception was at a friend's house on Crystal Lake.
We must have had over 100 people.
We had like 230 people.
We took a honeymoon to Lake Tahoe.
We were driving through the redwood forests. Charlie was driving, and I had to make him stop and let me drive because we were going to crash because he's driving like this, looking at all the big trees.
That was really neat, though, checking out Northern California like that. All right. Do some cooking.
What kind of cooking? Drunk cooking.
Drunk cooking is something me and Ron started years ago when he first moved up to Vermont. And it was something that didn't happen every night, but it seemed like every other night, one of us would cook supper. It started getting a little bit out of hand with some of the recipes and things we tried. And linguine, chicken, and we're probably gonna add some stuff to it, like maybe bacon.
Filming drunk cooking, that's awesome. Well, we make cocktails.
What's your contribution to the dinner tonight, Ron?
I'm watching.
You're making what are you making?
I'm making a Captain and Diet Ginger Ale. Less sugar and no caffeine. Cheers. Nectar of the gods. And may the gods be with you the next day.
Yeah, right.
this kind of like your morning routine? You read?
I do. I wake up a little bit. Those guys laugh at me a little bit, but I just don't wake up good, you know. I need to chill out for a little while in the morning just to wake up. These are my high blood pressure medicine.
Oh, geez.
What's today, Monday? We'll start with Monday. I'm not sure the name of it, but then a baby aspirin. It should keep the ticker going today. Nice.
All right. Are you starting to feel old now?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah. Glad I don't build anymore or climb trees at least. I think there's enough people that come to the Big E that I don't think we'll have to worry about having too many bears out there where people don't need them anymore because everybody has a bear. So that's a good thing. We can keep coming. Guess we're ready for another day. Fancy place to put the key. Alrighty now then. We're back. Excited about the Big E. First big day back.
Do you get excited about the Big E?
I do first 4 or 5 days, but it hasn't worn off yet. I really like it. I really do. And on real busy days, we're sitting there with a dolly walking a mile or more just to deliver a bear to keep it all going. Yeah, by the weekend, these will all be filled up and people be hanging out. There's some pretty good parties here, too. Sneaking up on you, girls. Here we are, home for 17 days. It seems to take 3 days, more or less, to find the rhythm. And by then, between lack of sleep, overwork, you seem to get this glaze over your eyes where you just look really tired. But then, after the 3rd day, then we start to find our rhythm. Rock and roll, baby. Life, it comes in stages, and being 60 years old and being able to remember my attitude or my philosophy of life when I was 20 and what I thought about sort of being bulletproof and no fear a little bit. Then you get into the 30s, and then you all of a sudden learn so much more about life and relationships and people. You get into your 40s, and you learn even more, and you start to get a little bit of philosophy, and you sort of think, well, I'm not so bulletproof, and you have your midlife crisis. Sort of grow in your 40s. When you get into your 50s, you start to understand what life's about. It seems like in your 50s, you understand what your parents were actually trying to tell you as you were growing up. Now, in my 60s, you tend to see a little bit more of the big picture. You know, you start to think, yeah, I may have another so many more years. Life seems to become real all of a sudden, you know, and you want to try and live every day at the fullest. Who knows what the 70s will bring?